Do you honestly believe, like so many fans are starting to believe, that Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White just doesn't like Caitlin Clark? Because after what we all saw in that brutal 9-5 to 6-0 blowout loss to the Phoenix Mercury, this is no longer just a bad night on the court. It's a wake-up call without Caitlin Clark. The Fever didn't just lose, they looked completely exposed, and commentators like Jason Whitlock wasted no time saying out loud what others only whisper, that there might be something deeper going on than bad coaching. Something that smells like a deliberate push to sideline Clark. And when you watch the bench reactions, the substitutions, and the final score all together, you can't help but wonder if this was incompetence or something that comes dangerously close to sabotage. From the opening tip, it was obvious something was off. The Fever looked like a team missing its heartbeat without Caitlin Clark on the floor. Their offense stalled, their defense cracked, and the Mercury took full advantage running their sets with ease and turning every Indiana mistake into instant points. The commentators didn't tiptoe around it either. Jason Whitlock and his co-host dove straight into the idea that there's more at play than a simple off night, they argued. That Clark's absence exposed deeper problems with the rotations and game plan problems they believe might be rooted in ideological differences between Clark and head coach Stephanie White. In their words, this wasn't just about bad matchups, it was about decisions that looked like they were designed to keep Clark from shining. And when you add in the scoreboard, the body language, and the pattern of similar moves in past games, the theory starts to sound a lot less far-fetched. Whitlock didn't waste time building suspense. He put the question right on the table, asking if Stephanie White even likes Caitlin Clark, and his co-host, Frank, jumped in with a blunt, no, not a hesitant maybe, or a soft disagreement, but a flat-out rejection of the idea that there's mutual respect between the two. And while they made it clear this was their opinion and not confirmed fact, the force in their delivery hit harder than any highlight from the game they painted Clark as more than just a superstar rookie. They framed her as a symbol, someone who refuses to bend to certain league-driven narratives. And because of that, they argued some in the WNBA see her as a problem. They even pushed the idea that Clark represents values and an image that stand outside what they claim is the league's preferred branding, which in their eyes makes her a target. And the way they described it, she's not just dealing with tough defenders on the court, she's navigating an entire culture in the league that doesn't want her to win. They doubled down on the idea by comparing Clark to Paige Bueckers, not in stats or skills, but in how the league treats them. Both are white, both are elite players, yet Bueckers, who is openly part of the LGBTQ community, gets embraced more fully by the league's promotional machine, while Clark, according to their take, gets pushed to the margins because she doesn't align with what they claim is the WNBA's preferred agenda. Whitlock went as far as to say the league wants to break Caitlin Clark until she bends to their message, and that it's not about her race, because they love Paige Bueckers for fitting the narrative. Instead, he claimed it's about what Clark refuses to promote, that she won't play along with certain propaganda or political angles. And that stubbornness in their eyes is exactly why she faces harsher officiating, colder treatment, and more calculated attempts to knock her down at every turn. From there, Whitlock started tying his argument directly to coaching choices, pointing to the rosters, the substitutions, and the timing, as evidence that you could literally see moments where the coach could set Clark up to succeed, but instead kept her away from the center of the action, and lately it's been far too much of the latter. He didn't hold back on his opinion of Stephanie White, saying he never liked the hire in the first place because her old school style doesn't mesh with the way Clark plays. He even reminded viewers that when Clark got injured, White called it a blessing in disguise. But when the games actually played out without her, that theory collapsed fast. The Fever's 5-game winning streak ended in a 9-5-6-0 implosion against Phoenix, and the players' blank-drained expressions on the bench told the story. This wasn't just a bad shooting night. It was a collapse that made you question whether the team had any plan at all without Clark in the lineup. From the opening whistle, Phoenix played like they had something to prove, chasing every loose ball, contesting every shot, and never letting the Fever breathe, while Indiana looked flat, slow, and completely out of rhythm by halftime. The game already felt decided. Every missed Fever shot turned into a Mercury fast break. Every defensive lapse was punished without mercy, and the contrast was glaring because when Clark is on the floor, opponents treat it like their Super Bowl, going all out to make a statement. But without her, that fire isn't the same, at least according to the commentators, who pointed to recent wins over the Chicago Sky and the Atlanta Dream. As proof, those games lacked intensity, sloppy defense, poor execution, and low energy from both sides. And while that might make the Fever's record look better, it doesn't prepare them for nights like this where the opponent comes in locked and loaded and ready to exploit every weakness on the court. Whitlock and Frank argued that what happened against Phoenix was exactly the kind of relentless pressure Clark faces every night she plays, mentioning stars like DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas, who bring the same playoff-level energy whenever Clark is on the floor. But this time, Phoenix decided to give that same treatment to the Clarkless Fever, and the results were brutal. Coming at the end of a 4-game road trip, the team looked tired, maybe even a little overconfident from their recent streak, and they got steamrolled. Frank added that without Clark, the Fever lose sharpness across the board. More unforced turnovers, more missed defensive rotations, fewer momentum-shifting plays, and watching this game, you could see it unfold, possession by possession. It wasn't just one missing superstar. It felt like the team's anchor had been ripped out, leaving them adrift, while Phoenix took control from start to finish and never let go. That's when the conversation turned back to coaching decisions, with Whitlock zeroing in on one substitution as the clearest example of his theory. The moment Lexi Hull came out and DeWanna Bonner went in on paper, it looked like a routine rotation. But Whitlock argued Hull isn't just another player. She's one of the few in the locker room firmly in Clark's corner, and pulling her in a game where the Fever were already lifeless meant removing one of their only steady defensive anchors to him. It was a move that made no basketball sense. Unless there was a deeper agenda, he reminded viewers that Hull had been part of the core that helped turn things around last season. And while she had been struggling with her shot, lately, she'd earned the right to stay in the mix. Instead, Bonner took her spot, then later left the team entirely, heading to Phoenix to play alongside her girlfriend, and the chain reaction from that one move still hangs over the Fever's chemistry today. Whitlock tied that substitution to what he called a bigger pattern of scrambled rotations and inexplicable lineup changes, cycling players like Ari McDonald in and out without giving them time to build rhythm, separating Clark from teammates she works best with, and constantly pulling defensive anchors at crucial moments. He argued that it leaves only two possibilities. Either you have a coach making some of the worst in-game decisions in the league right now, or you have a coach actively working against her own star. And if it's the second one, he warned it's not just about one bad loss, it's about a fracture that could threaten the future of the team and even the league's momentum. In his view, the Fever ignored what Clark Boston and Mitchell asked for in the offseason to protect the locker room, instead bringing in players who clashed with that vision. And when you look at Clark's Iowa days and the kind of teammates she thrived with, the disconnect becomes even harder to ignore. So here's where it all lands. The Fever had just rattled off 5 straight wins before getting humiliated 95-60 by Phoenix. The on-air debate lit up with accusations that coaching choices and roster moves, especially the Hull for Bonner switch, revealed an anti-Clark bias. And while those are still just allegations, the only hard evidence in front of us is the scoreboard and the substitutions everyone saw that night. We're laying out exactly what Whitlock, Frank, and others said, along with the game moments they used to back it up. Now, it's your call. Was that substitution just a bad matchup decision, or was there intent behind it? Drop your verdict in the comments, and if you spot it, the exact moment in the game that proves your point, call out the minute mark, because whatever you believe, one thing is certain. What this means for Clark, for the Fever, and for the optics of the WNBA is far from over, and the next games will tell us if this was a one-off disaster or the beginning of something much bigger.